Alright, so for this learning session, I'll show you some example of how I use Lambda. I kind of walked you through last session the general process I was going to do of hooking up GitHub with the Lambda, and I'll walk you through that project, what the code looks like for that. And after that, we'll, because the next meeting won't be for 3 weeks after this one, we'll just kind of set you up with projects that you can do over that period of time before we can meet back up. Sometime before the end of the semester, we're talking with someone from General Mills to have someone come by and speak with how they use cloud there. They use Azure, so before we have them come in, we'll kind of give you guys an outline of Azure and how it differs from AWS. Pretty much all the cloud service providers will do all the same things. They just have different names for their things. So we'll just catch you guys up on that before they come in and kind of talk to you about their process. So let's get started on this. So I'll pull up Lambda right here. And this is the Lambda I made, GitHub link. I did this all within the console, so I'll show you all the setup that was required for it. But first I'll kind of show you guys how it works. So this is the website in its current form. Let's go to guides. Yeah, this is the website in its current form. Let's add something to the outside resources real quick. So to do that, this is in GitHub. I will go to guides, open up the HTML, I'll make this actually visible, and then I'll go to outside resources, and then let's just add the internet. It's a good outside resource. I use that one a lot. I would recommend. So in its current form, this is the website. So let's say I want this change. So what I would do is, and this is the file that's changed, I'll add this, I'll commit, and then push. This is pushing to my working directory, the repo or the branch called working. And so as you can see, there won't be any change here. But when I go here and do a pull request, which I just recommend as a general practice to do pull requests, so you can kind of see. Here's a change. Add this break and then added this line. I'll create the pull request and I'll merge the pull request. There we go. And I'll actually show you right here in the logs what's actually going on. So look, we see there were 2 actions just now. Let's go look at these logs. And then this is the time right now. It has the UTC 0, and we're at -6. So we'll be off by 6 hours for what's displaying in the logs. But this was a start right here. And what's saying is it added guides-index.html to UMN Cloud. So if we refresh this again, the website's been updated. And it only updates the files that have been changed, so you're not pushing a whole bunch of unnecessary changes to S3, which if you're doing big files and big changes, and a lot of them, that could start to like add up to become costly. We still won't pay anything, even if we did that, but it's good practice. You can also see right before, not to master. This was when I made the initial push to my working branch. What happened is it parsed an event, and I'll walk you guys through that. And from that, I was able to determine, hey, this isn't a push to the master branch, this is a push to a different branch. So it ignored it. And it only changed an update to the master. So now I'll walk you through how this actually was set up. First, let's go to GitHub itself. Now if we look at the settings here, and integrations and services, I added an Amazon SNS integration. SNS is their notification service. What that does is you can hook it up with some other events, and whenever it happens, it will send a message, either an email or a text message, or in this case, it went directly to a Lambda function. And so what this does is whenever GitHub has an event, it will just send out a message. And this is actually, I'll show you here. Let's go to, so if we go to IAM, where you can manage your users, the service actually is its own user, a GitHub service user that does not have a password. All it has is an API key. It doesn't have like a login or anything because it's only used for the service. And if you look at its permissions, its only permission is to publish to this service to get information from. So I created this user and then put the information into GitHub here for their integration. It's pretty easy. If you go to add a service, they have a couple AWS stuff. I don't think it wants me to do another SNS, which makes sense. It would be unnecessary to have multiple SNS because you can have one SNS go to different things read that SNS. But let's go to, just pick one. I don't even think, yeah. So, and then if we go to settings, integration service, show you AWS SNS, and I kind of walk you through, this is what permission you should have for the user. You would put in the key, kind of like when we were setting up accounts. That would be the key and then the secret for deploying on your local machine. The topic would just be what SNS you're publishing to. And then the region, you don't even need to specify that, but you could if you wanted. And they kind of walk you through all this here. And we can actually look at the SNS topic real quick. Here it is. All you do is say make a topic, essentially. And as you can see, it has one subscriber. That's a Lambda function. So now let's actually look at the Lambda. We've kind of just been bouncing around that, kind of saving best for last. This whole thing is about Lambda, so this is all just the kind of ancillary stuff around the Lambda function itself. So for the Lambda, we go here. We say to run the Lambda function whenever it gets an SNS from this GitHub service, which I kind of showed you guys. And this is the code itself. It is 58 lines of Python, which is pretty chill. Yeah, and I'll kind of walk you through what all this is doing. JSON, just to parse JSON. Boto 3 is what allows you within Python to manage your other AWS resources. And then this will allow me to open web pages, URLs. So what initially happens is it goes to the Lambda handler. This function will be what every event goes to. Context, we kind of talked about last time. This would have like your remaining time in milliseconds, what your function is, what permissions you have. It just kind of, well, yeah, it is the context that this Lambda function is running in, or at least as much of it as you can know. The events is actually the information that's coming in with the execution of this Lambda function. So because this is executing using an SNS topic, the event is all the data from the SNS topic. So what we do is, for all the records, we parse the message and we make sure it's valid. Valid meaning that it's a push event, and we say it's not a push event if it isn't, making sure it's to the correct repository. So I could have the same Lambda function and same user and for the SNS topic and the same SNS topic all to different GitHub repos and just separate them out within the Lambda function to do different tasks, which I will end up doing once I separate out the repo, like separate my personal website stuff from the UMN Cloud website stuff. I'll still have them all come to the same Lambda function. Says wrong repo, doesn't do anything. Here it makes sure it's from the master branch. If not, and you guys saw that that message, not to master, and then what branch it actually was. If it is, it gets all these changes. I still need to add the case where you're removing something from the website, removing a page. But for adding or modifying, it will collect all those for the various websites and then kind of return those. So it has all the files that have changed. And then here's the meat of it. So now it has all the files that have changed. What it does is it specifies the S3 client with Bodo3. This is the bucket name, www.umncloud.com, for the example that I showed you guys. This right here is how you can get the raw file information from GitHub. So what I do is I do URL open on this the raw file itself, and then I just straight up put that object into the bucket. I read it here. It's reading it as bytes, but I'm telling it to put it in as text in HTML so it can be read from the web page. Specify the bucket. The key is just what the location it is within the bucket. And then I tell you that that's been added to the bucket. And so this is the Lambda function itself. I'll work on making this not all within the console, so making it upload via code. That way you guys can actually see the code a lot better and actually can show you the Lambda function upload process. And because this is pretty simple, it only needed a single file, only needed a single thing. If you needed multiple things, you'd have to zip them up and put them in. Later on, I'll show you an example of that, but that won't be until we have more complicated examples to kind of demonstrate for you guys. And yes, so I'll show you the logs one more time. This was, so this is different changes to the website, and I'll actually show you, this is me iterating on it to get it to actually work. So this is actually what an event looks like. It's a lot of information. So the Lambda function is doing a lot of this parsing to get what's actually necessary from all this. And I believe I have a prettier version. There are a lot of ones that just errored. Here it is. So I had it display out in a way that I could actually read it. And so this is kind of more of the specific information that it shows all the modified files with each commit. And they have a lot of information here. I only kind of scraped the surface of what I used, but you can do a lot of complicated things with this. Alright. So yeah, that's the Lambda, and yeah, and this was the trigger, the actual event itself. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for like this demonstration. Do you guys have any specific questions about this process, or how else you could do it, I guess. With Lambda functions, them kind of being the glue to all of this, they oftentimes can be pretty simple. Like, the logic here was parsing an event, getting the data from the parsed, so making sure it's valid, parsing it, and then this code and this code actually put it on S3. Everything else was just kind of parsing and getting data, which you'll kind of see often a lot of times for Lambda functions. They're pretty good at that process, so they generally will be doing those kind of in-between steps. Alright, and now we can actually kind of talk more about the projects that we'll be doing. So I'll turn off